My name is Nathan Cole. I'm 34 years old, and I work as a digital marketing strategist in Dallas, Texas. For the past 6 years, I've specialized in brand reputation and image construction. The irony isn't lost on me. I spent my career teaching companies how to build authentic narratives while completely missing the fake one being constructed right under my nose. For 2 years, I was engaged to Rachel Mendez. She's 31, an interior designer with a solid online presence. Her Instagram showcased beautiful room makeovers, her YouTube channel offered decorating tips, and her TikTok videos regularly hit 6 figures in views. People admired her aesthetic sense, her creative eye, her seemingly effortless ability to transform spaces. What they didn't know was how much of that image I built for her. I handled her content strategy. I edited her videos. I managed her posting schedule. I even bankrolled half her projects because investing in her brand meant investing in our future together. Or so I thought. Our relationship looked picture perfect from the outside. Weekend getaways to Austin, dinner parties with friends, plans for a wedding in spring 2026. Rachel posted couple photos with captions about gratitude and partnership. I genuinely believed we were building something real. Then came the Chicago trip in early September 2025. I'd been working on this deal for 8 months. A major tech company wanted to overhaul their entire digital presence. If I closed it, my commission alone would be around $75,000, enough to cover a significant portion of our wedding expenses. Rachel knew how important this was. She kissed me goodbye at the airport, told me she was proud of me, and promised to have my favorite meal ready when I got back. The conference lasted 3 days. The first 2 went perfectly. Presentations, networking dinners, preliminary negotiations. On the second night, I was at a steakhouse in the Loop with potential investors. We were celebrating what looked like a done deal. I was 3 drinks in, feeling better about life than I had in months. My phone buzzed during dessert. A text from Rachel, no preamble, no explanation, just 8 words that detonated my entire world. I can't do this anymore. We're done. I stared at the screen, certain I'd misread it. I excused myself from the table, went to the bathroom, and tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. I tried texting back. The messages turned green. She'd blocked me on iMessage. I opened Instagram. Her profile had vanished from my feed. Facebook, same thing. She'd systematically cut me out of every digital avenue we shared. I stood in that restaurant bathroom, tie loosened, hands shaking, trying to process what had just happened. 2 years of my life ended via text message while I was 800 miles away, closing the biggest deal of my career. If you enjoy stories of cold-blooded revenge and gripping plot twists, like this video and subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new, unreleased stories here every day, each one more intense than the last. I somehow made it through the rest of dinner, smiled, nodded, signed preliminary documents. My mind was elsewhere, running through every conversation we'd had before I left, searching for clues I'd missed. Back at the hotel, I poured myself a whiskey from the minibar and opened my laptop, planning to lose myself in work. That's when my phone lit up again. This time a message from Sarah, a mutual friend of ours. "Nathan, I'm so sorry. I just saw them together." Attached was a screenshot. Rachel and Ethan Torres, her ex-boyfriend, sitting at a restaurant in Dallas. Their hands were intertwined on the table. The timestamp showed it was taken less than an hour ago, while I was getting dumped via text. Ethan Torres, the same guy Rachel claimed to despise. The manipulative ex she'd supposedly cut out of her life completely. The one she'd told me multiple times was toxic and dishonest, and everything she never wanted in a partner again. Sarah's next message contained more context. They'd been spotted together at a coffee shop 2 weeks earlier, in late August. Then at a bar in Deep Ellum a few days after that. Rachel had been careful, but not careful enough. Small circles talk, and Dallas isn't as big as people think. I sat there in that hotel room, staring at the photo, feeling something shift inside me. Not the explosive anger you might expect. Not tears or panic or the urge to catch the next flight home and confront them both. Just a cold, crystalline clarity. Rachel hadn't just ended our relationship. She'd strategically dismantled it while I was out of town, unable to respond or question her. She'd chosen the moment when I was most vulnerable, most distracted, most invested in something else. And she'd already moved on, not just emotionally, but physically. Before even having the decency to end things properly, I closed the laptop, finished the whiskey, and started thinking like the strategist I'd been trained to be. The next morning, I woke up with perfect focus. No hangover, no emotional breakdown, no desperate attempts to win her back, just a clear plan forming in my mind. I'd spent years building digital narratives for clients. I knew exactly how images were constructed, how stories were sold, and, most importantly, how quickly they could collapse when the foundation was exposed as hollow. During the flight delays and layovers on my way back to Dallas, I started compiling everything. Not out of spite, but out of necessity. Rachel had built her entire online persona on authenticity, on being relatable, on showing her journey. What she'd conveniently left out was how much of that journey I'd funded, planned, and executed. I went through my phone, my laptop, my cloud storage. Years of content, most of which had never seen the light of day. Behind-the-scenes videos of Rachel's shoots where I was the one holding the ring light, adjusting the camera angles, suggesting the captions. Photos from trips I'd paid for in full, not because she couldn't afford them, but because she claimed she was reinvesting everything into her brand. Receipts from furniture and decor I'd purchased for her content. A West Elm sofa for $1,200, lighting equipment from B&H Photo totaling around $800. Even the camera she used, a Sony A7 III that I'd bought her for her birthday last year for $2,000. Screenshots of late-night strategy sessions where I'd outlined her entire content calendar for months. Then, there were the personal moments, videos from our engagement party in summer 2023. Her tearful speech about finding someone who truly supported her dreams. Messages she'd sent me during rough patches calling me her rock, her partner, my best friend. All of it genuine in the moment. All of it now recontextualized by how easily she'd discarded me. I also found something else. Recent text exchanges that now made perfect sense. 3 weeks earlier, in mid-August, Rachel had suddenly become defensive when I'd asked about her schedule. She'd accused me of being controlling when I'd simply wanted to plan a dinner date. She'd started going to the gym at odd hours, claiming she needed to reset her routine. Classic misdirection, and I'd been too trusting to see it. I organized everything chronologically. Created a timeline that told a story more powerful than any angry rant could. The evidence wasn't just about betrayal, it was about pattern and premeditation. By the time I landed in Dallas on Thursday evening, I had a rough cut ready. I didn't go home immediately. Instead, I checked into a Courtyard Marriott near the airport for $130 a night and spent the weekend editing. I'm not a professional video editor, but I know enough about pacing, narrative structure, and emotional beats to create something effective. The video opened with happy moments. Rachel and me at her gallery showing in early 2024, celebrating her first major client, laughing at a barbecue with friends last summer. Genuine smiles, genuine connection. Then, a simple black screen with white text. 2 years together, 800 miles away, one text message. The next section showed our relationship from a different angle. Not the polished Instagram version, but the reality. Me setting up her shoots, screenshots of the content strategies I'd written, bank statements showing the trips and equipment I'd funded, her own messages thanking me for making all this possible. Then came the timeline of the betrayal. No names mentioned directly, but the dates were clear. Coffee shop sighting in late August, bar appearance in early September. The final screenshot, her at dinner with him, hours after ending our engagement via text on September 3rd. I didn't add angry commentary. Didn't call her names or make accusations. Just let the images speak for themselves, set to a simple, melancholic piano track. The final frame was just text. Sometimes the hardest part isn't losing someone. It's realizing they were already gone. Total runtime, 4 minutes and 37 seconds. I posted it on Saturday evening, September 7th. Not on my main social media accounts. Those were still blocked by Rachel. but on a secondary YouTube channel I'd created years ago for marketing experiments. I shared the link in a few Reddit communities about relationships and personal growth. No context, no explanations, just the video. Then I waited. The first hour brought maybe 50 views, nothing remarkable. I made myself dinner, unpacked my suitcase, tried to focus on normal tasks. By the time I checked again at midnight, the view count had jumped to 15,000. The comments section was exploding. People were dissecting every frame, connecting dots, sharing their own stories of betrayal. By Sunday morning, it had hit 500,000 views. That's when Rachel noticed. My phone, which I'd deliberately left unblocked on her end, started buzzing. First, a comment on the video from an account I didn't recognize, but the writing style was unmistakably hers. "This is a private matter. Taking it down would be the decent thing to do." I didn't respond. Then came a text from an unknown number. "Nathan, please, we need to talk. This isn't fair." I blocked it. Another number. "You're destroying everything I've built. How can you be this cruel?" The lack of self-awareness was almost impressive. She'd ended a 2-year relationship via text while I was on a business trip, immediately moved on with her supposedly toxic ex, and somehow I was the cruel one for showing the truth. I blocked that number too. By Sunday afternoon, the video had crossed 2 million views. News sites and social media commentary accounts had picked it up. Rachel's Instagram, which had been thriving with brand partnerships and sponsored content, became a battlefield. Every post flooded with comments asking about the video, demanding explanations, calling out the hypocrisy. She tried damage control, posted a vague story about growing apart and choosing happiness. But the narrative had already shifted. People weren't interested in her carefully curated explanation. They'd seen the receipts, the timeline, the evidence of calculated deception. Her comment sections became brutal. Former fans felt betrayed, not just on my behalf, but on their own. They'd believed in her authenticity, and now that foundation was cracked. Brands started quietly pulling partnerships. Her engagement rates plummeted as followers began unfollowing in droves. Ethan, predictably, vanished from her social media entirely within 48 hours. No couple photos, no mentions, nothing. Classic move. He'd never wanted the spotlight, just the conquest. Once things got messy, he did what Rachel had told me he always did. Disappeared. I watched it all unfold with a strange detachment. I wasn't celebrating or gloating. If anything, I felt tired. This wasn't the victory I'd wanted. I'd wanted a real relationship, an honest partnership, a future. Instead, I had millions of views and a comments section full of strangers telling me I deserved better. On Monday, September 9th, I went back to work, closed the Chicago deal officially. My boss, who'd seen the video like everyone else in Dallas apparently had, pulled me aside. "You handling this okay?" he asked. "I'm fine," I said. And surprisingly, I meant it. The video kept growing. Within a week, it had over 8 million views. Media outlets reached out for interviews. A podcast wanted me as a guest. Someone even approached me about turning it into a longer documentary. I declined everything. The video had served its purpose, not as revenge, but as closure. I'd told my side of the story, and the world had listened. That was enough. Rachel tried everything to regain control of the narrative. 2 weeks after the video went viral, in late September, she posted a lengthy statement on her blog. It was classic PR damage control. Vague apologies, mentions of mental health struggles, claims that the relationship had been toxic on both sides. The problem was, nobody bought it. When you spend years building a brand on authenticity and transparency, people notice when you suddenly become evasive and defensive. Her followers weren't stupid. They'd seen the evidence. They knew the timeline. Her words rang hollow against the weight of documented reality. She tried pivoting her content entirely. Deleted old couple photos, archived posts that mentioned me, rebranded herself as being on a journey of self-discovery. But the internet has a long memory, and screenshots live forever. People kept reposting the old content alongside her new messaging, highlighting the contradictions. Her business took the hardest hit. Interior design, especially at the influencer level, is built on trust. Clients need to believe you're genuine, that your aesthetic choices come from a place of authenticity, not calculation. When your personal life reveals you as someone who operates through deception and strategic manipulation, that trust evaporates. Within 3 weeks, by late September, 3 major brand partnerships ended. A furniture company dropped her as an ambassador. A paint manufacturer canceled a planned collaboration. A home decor subscription box removed her from their creator program. Each loss was quietly announced, but the pattern was clear. Nobody wanted to associate their brand with someone whose own brand had imploded so spectacularly. I heard through mutual friends in the following weeks, the few who still talked to both of us, that Rachel was struggling financially. The influencer income she'd relied on had dried up almost overnight. She'd been making around $6,000 a month from sponsorships and affiliate links, which covered her rent at a trendy uptown apartment, $2,200 a month for a 1-bedroom, plus her lifestyle expenses. Now that income had dropped to maybe $1,000 a month if she was lucky. Projects she'd been planning had to be canceled. She'd even started looking for cheaper housing options, probably something around $1,300 for a studio in a less desirable area. Ethan, as predicted, had completely ghosted her. Apparently he'd stuck around for about 2 weeks after the video dropped, just long enough to realize he'd accidentally made himself part of a viral scandal. Then he'd done what he did best, vanished without explanation, blocked her everywhere, moved on to his next target. So Rachel had ended up exactly where she'd left me, alone, confused, and cut off without explanation. Except I'd been blindsided by someone I trusted. She'd walked directly into a situation everyone had warned her about, including me. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Meanwhile, my life took an unexpected turn in the opposite direction. The video, while personally painful, had showcased exactly what I did professionally: strategic narrative construction, brand management, crisis response. Companies started reaching out, not for sympathy, but for services. One client, a tech startup dealing with a PR nightmare, specifically mentioned the video in our initial meeting in late September. "You handled a devastating personal situation with precision and clarity," their CEO said. "That's exactly the kind of strategic thinking we need." I landed 4 new clients within 3 weeks. My income nearly doubled, going from around $8,000 a month to close to $15,000. The Chicago deal, which had felt tainted by the circumstances around it, turned into a cornerstone project that led to 3 more contracts with similar companies. I started looking for a new apartment in late September. Something in the design district with floor-to-ceiling windows and exposed brick. It would be more expensive, $2,800 a month compared to the $1,900 I'd been paying, but I could afford it now. More importantly, it would be mine. No shared memories, no ghost of a relationship haunting every corner. I also started being more selective about who I let into my life. Not bitter or closed off, just more observant. I paid attention to patterns, to inconsistencies between words and actions, to how people treated others when they thought nobody important was watching. 3 weeks after the video, in late September, I ran into Rachel at a coffee shop in Deep Ellum. It was inevitable in a city like Dallas where certain neighborhoods attract certain crowds. I was grabbing coffee before heading to the office. She was alone, laptop open, clearly working. Our eyes met across the cafe. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she stood up, walked over to where I was waiting for my order. "Nathan," she said quietly, "can we talk, please?" I looked at her. Up close, she looked tired. The polished Instagram version of Rachel had been replaced by someone who looked genuinely worn down by the past few weeks. "5 minutes," I said. We stepped outside. The September air was still warm, typical Dallas weather refusing to acknowledge that fall was supposed to be starting. "I'm sorry," she said, "for all of it. The way I ended things, the timing, Ethan. You deserved better." I nodded slowly. "You're right. I did." "I was confused," she continued. "Ethan reached out in August and all these old feelings came back, and I thought maybe I'd been wrong about him. I thought maybe we could recapture something. And how did that work out? I asked, my tone neutral. He was exactly who you said he was, who everyone said he was. I just didn't want to see it. I leaned against the brick wall, studying her. Part of me, a very small part, felt something like sympathy. She'd made catastrophically bad choices and paid a steep price. But sympathy didn't mean absolution. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I need you to know it wasn't about you. You were amazing, patient, supportive, everything I said you were. I just sabotaged something good because I was chasing something shiny and destructive. Rachel, I said carefully, I appreciate the apology. I do. But I need you to understand something. That video wasn't revenge. It was documentation. It was me showing the truth about what happened, because you'd already controlled the narrative by cutting me out of every channel where I could respond. I know, she said quietly, and I deserve everything that's happened. The consequences you're facing, the lost partnerships, the credibility issues, all of it, those aren't things I did to you. Those are natural results of your own choices being made public. She nodded, eyes downcast. I know. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry, and that I hope eventually you can move on from all this. I already have, I said simply. And it was true. Standing there, looking at someone who'd once meant everything to me, I felt nothing but a quiet sense of closure. No anger, no pain, just the clear certainty that this chapter was finished. I hope you figure things out, Rachel. I really do. But we're done. Completely. She nodded, wiping at her eyes. Goodbye, Nathan. Goodbye. I watched her walk back into the cafe, shoulders hunched, the confidence that had defined her online persona completely absent. Then I grabbed my coffee and headed to my car. As I drove to the office, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Lightness. The weight I'd been carrying since that night in Chicago had finally lifted. Not because of the apology, but because I'd realized something fundamental. I didn't need her acknowledgement to move forward. I'd already done that on my own terms. That evening, I got a message from Sarah, the friend who'd first sent me the photo of Rachel and Ethan together. Saw you two talking at the cafe. You okay? Yeah, I typed back. Actually, I really am. The video continued its steady circulation. It had become one of those internet artifacts that people stumbled across, shared with friends going through breakups, referenced in discussions about public accountability. I'd stopped checking the view count or reading comments. It had served its purpose, and now it simply existed as a record of what happened. By the end of September, I'd settled into a new rhythm. New clients, new projects, new apartment plans in motion. The professional success felt earned, not lucky. Every contract I closed was a reminder that I'd built my reputation on real skills, not manufactured images. Rachel's trajectory had stabilized at a much lower level. Her follower count had dropped from 120,000 to around 40,000. The engagement on her remaining posts was minimal. She'd found a part-time position at a design firm, supplementing what little influencer income remained. The carefully constructed empire had collapsed, leaving only the foundation, which, without authenticity, wasn't strong enough to rebuild on. I felt no satisfaction in her struggles, but I also felt no obligation to help. We'd each made our choices. Now we were living with the consequences. On the last Friday of September, I signed the lease on my new loft in the design district. Standing in the empty space, sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I felt something I hadn't felt in months, excitement about the future. My phone buzzed, another potential client wanting to schedule a consultation. I smiled and added it to my calendar. 3 weeks ago, I'd been in a hotel room in Chicago, staring at a photo of my fiancée with another man, feeling like my world had ended. Now I understood. What ended was just a chapter, a painful one, but not the whole story. The video still exists on YouTube. It gets a few thousand views a week, mostly from people discovering it for the first time. I never took it down, and I never will. Not because I want to punish Rachel forever, but because it's the truth. And truth I've learned doesn't need embellishment or explanation. It just needs to be seen. My name is Nathan Cole. I'm 34 years old, and I work as a digital marketing strategist in Dallas, Texas. 3 weeks ago, I thought I'd lost everything. Today, I realize I only lost what was never really mine to begin with. I've learned that sometimes the best response to betrayal isn't confrontation or revenge. It's simply showing the truth and letting it speak for itself. I've learned that peace doesn't come from getting even, but from getting clear about who you are and what you won't accept. Rachel taught me what I don't want, and in the space she left behind, I'm building something better, something real, something honest, something entirely my own. September 2025 will always be the month everything changed. The month I learned that the hardest betrayals can lead to the clearest transformations. The month I discovered that losing someone who didn't value you isn't a loss at all. It's a liberation. And on the other side of it all, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, focused, successful, and finally at peace with the truth. If you enjoyed this story, like this video and leave a comment telling me what you thought. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to get alerts for new stories like this one. Thanks for watching and see you next time.